Hi everyone, welcome to BioXplaining. This is me Anushka and today we are going to discuss about the next part of our topic on human reproduction where we'll be dealing with the menstrual cycle in details. Our lecture will mainly be based on the NCERT Class 12 Biology textbook. So let's begin. First, let's have a very quick recap about the structure of the female reproductive system. So in our previous videos, we have dealt with the female reproductive system का structure. तो क्या करते हैं कि जल्दी एक बार let's have a quick recap. So first, what are these structure? These are the ovaries. So this is an ovary. The other ovary is this one, the white ball-like structures that are present. Next, what do we have? Next, we have the oviduct, which is also known as the fallopian tube. So on both sides, the oviduct or the fallopian tubes are present. Then what we have? Then क्या है कि this central part, the central part is known as this uterus. Okay, the central part is known as the uterus, which in simple words or regular language is also known as the womb. अब ये uterus का क्या है ना कि the uterus wall, this uterine wall is divided into three parts. What are the three parts? The outermost layer of the uterine wall, that is known as the perimetrium, right? Then क्या आता है? The middle layer, the middle layers, that is known as the myometrium. And एकदम innermost layer जो है, the innermost layer of the uterine wall, that is known as the endometrium. Endo means inside. Okay, so these three things, perimetrium, myometrium and endometrium, together make up the uterine wall. ठीक है? Next क्या आता है? Next, this region is known as the cervix. This region is the cervix. And then what do we have? Then we have the vagina. Cervix and vagina, both of them together lead to the birth canal. Okay, so these are the major parts of the female reproductive tract. The two ovaries, two oviducts or fallopian tubes, then आता है uterus. The uterine wall has perimetrium, myometrium and endometrium, three layers. Then आता है क्या? Cervix, and then we have the vagina. Fine. Okay, so basically what we have also seen in our gametogenesis video is that from the ovary, the female gamete is released. That means the ovum is released. So which is the female gamete. So we have the ovum that is released from the ovary. Now the oviduct will carry the ovum. What happens is there are two possibilities. What are the two possibilities? Let us see. Two possibilities में क्या क्या है? एक possibility ये है कि the sperm has entered. That is, sperm meets the ovum. This is the one possibility. Sperm meets the ovum. That means कि fertilization process जो है वो successfully हुआ है. Right? So in this case, what will happen? In this case, it will lead to a condition जिसे हम लोग कहते हैं pregnancy. Fine. Second possibility क्या है? The other possibility is that there is no sperm entry. So the ovum is not met by the sperm. The ovum is not met by the sperm. तो in this case हम लोग क्या कह सकते हैं? यहाँ पे हम लोग बोल सकते हैं कि fertilization has not occurred. तो fertilization has not occurred. In this case now what will happen? is what we call to be the menstruation, or simple words में menstrual cycle. ठीक है, this gives rise to the menstrual cycle. ओके तो अभी क्या पढ़ेंगे ये वाला वीडियो में कि what happens in the menstrual cycle, what is meant by menstruation, what are the different phases, क्या क्या hormones involved है, कब कौन से phase में क्या events होता है, सब कुछ one by one देखेंगे. ओके तो menstrual cycle क्या होता है? Menstrual cycle is the reproductive cycle in female primates. तो अब समझना है कि primate कौन है? Who are the primates? So primates refer to a certain group of animals which will include monkeys, apes, human beings. So you know these are all animals which have complex behavior, they have usage of hands, they have a large brain volume. So all of these are characteristics of primates. So they include monkeys, apes, human beings, right? तो menstrual cycle कहाँ देखा जाता है? It is the reproductive cycle in case of the female primates, right? अब menarche and menopause ये दो terms है जो आपको बहुत अच्छे से जानना है. What are these two terms? First you have menarche. तो menarche is the first menstruation at puberty. तो मतलब menarche means कि this is the beginning of menstruation in life. Beginning of menstruation in a female's life. ये कह सकते हैं. ठीक है. So it will start at puberty. आप सबको पता है what is puberty? That is, this is the age or the period where reproductive maturity comes in a person's life. Right? That is during the adolescence period. That is puberty. So menstruation का beginning को क्या कहते हैं हम? That is menarche. And other term क्या है? Other term is menopause. See, pause is there. Pause. तो मतलब कि this is the permanent stoppage of menstruation. Right? So menstruation will not occur any further. So this means that the menstrual cycle completely stops in the life of a female. So that is called menopause. तो ह्यूमन फीमेल्स के लिए ये जो मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल है दिस इज फॉर अ पीरियड ऑफ 28 to 30 डेज का साइकिल, राइट? तो एवरेज में आप क्या कह सकते हैं कि 28 और 29 डेज का साइकिल इज द मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल इन केस ऑफ ह्यूमन फीमेल्स. तो चलिए अब अंडरस्टैंड करते हैं कि व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट फेजेस ऑफ द मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल. तो मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल क्या है कि in all this 28 to 30 days का जो cycle है this is divided into 4 major phases, right? So 1, 2, 3 and 4 चार क्या क्या phases है देख लेते हैं. First one is the menstrual phase. ठीक है. Second जो आता है उसे कहा जाता है follicular phase. क्या होता है, what are the hormonal effects, what are the different effects, सब कुछ पढ़ेंगे. अभी बस 4 names को एक बार याद कर लेते हैं. First is menstrual phase, then follicular phase, जिसे also क्या कहा जाता है, proliferative phase भी कहा जाता है. Proliferative phase, ठीक है ना. Then third phase is what? That is the ovulatory phase. Third is the ovulatory phase and last fourth phase refers to the luteal phase जिसे also secretory phase के नाम से भी जाना जाता है. Secretory phase. Okay, so what are the different names that we have seen? First menstrual phase, then आता है follicular phase, then आता है ovulatory phase and then आता है luteal phase. Okay, so first क्या आता है, menstrual phase. तो now just think in a simple way कि the uterus is expecting that there will be a child, right? The uterus is expecting pregnancy. So what is the uterus doing? It is preparing a bed for the child, right? What do we mean when we say the uterus is preparing a bed? We mean to say कि it is thickening its endometrial lining. Okay, so what can I say? That endometrial जो lining है, endometrial lining thickens, right? So now what happens if fertilization does not occur? So say fertilization has not occurred. Then what will happen? This endometrial lining will start shedding. Along with that, the blood vessels that are ruptured, so the blood will also shed. तो menstrual phase में क्या होता है कि the endometrial lining along with the ruptured blood vessels undergo shedding. So when we would study, at school, my biology teacher would say that, remember it in this way, कि the uterus is expecting a child. So the uterus is thickening its endometrial lining. Now that the uterus understands कि no, there is no implantation occurring, there is no pregnancy, the uterus will start to weep. ठीक है? The uterus will start to weep. So this weeping is the shedding of the endometrial lining. So that the ruptured blood vessels and the blood that occurs in the menstrual phase, the bleeding that occurs is the uterus weeping. So this is how she would ask us to remember what happens in the menstrual phase. Okay, so if the ovum does not get fertilized, then the endometrial lining along with the ruptured blood vessels are shed. Time period क्या है? This is the first 5 days approximately of the menstrual cycle. तो day 1 से लेके day 5 तक approximate. Done with menstrual phase. Next phase क्या है? Next is the follicular phase. अभी हम लोगों ने देखा है. What is the other name of follicular phase? याद है? Right. It is the proliferative phase. So proliferative phase is the other name of the follicular phase. So what happens in this follicular phase? So now what happens is, during this phase, the primary follicle will turn into the Graafian follicle. कि primary follicle जो है, that will mature into the Graafian follicle. तो मतलब simple what is happening कि the ovary and the uterus, they are all starting to now prepare for the next month. कि next month will pregnancy occur? Will pregnancy occur in the upcoming month? So they are starting to prepare for fertilization from now on. So how are they starting to prepare? The primary follicle, a new primary follicle from an ovary, is getting matured into the Graafian follicle. How is the uterus preparing? The endometrium of the uterus is proliferating. मतलब just सोचो कि uterus is now again preparing bed for another child next month, right? At this time, what will happen? जो आपके gonadotropins है, मतलब gonadotropic hormones जो है, LH and FSH, क्या है? ये दोनों last videos में भी हम लोग देखे थे. फिर भी एक बार quick recap. One is luteinizing hormone. LH is luteinizing hormone and FSH क्या है? FSH है follicle stimulating hormone. Okay, तो ये जो LH and जो FSH है, their secretions will increase gradually, right? Now that the secretions are increasing gradually, ये क्या करेगा? The growing follicles that you had, right? The primary follicle is supposed to grow into the Graafian follicle. So these gonadotropins will stimulate the growing follicles to secrete another hormone, that is estrogen, right? तो हम लोगों ने already क्या क्या hormonal involvement देख लिया कि in the proliferative phase or the follicular phase, the LH and the FSH levels start growing up gradually, meaning slowly, and these two will stimulate the growing follicle कि तुम estrogen को secrete करो, right? तो फेज का नाम प्रोलिफरेटिव फेज क्यों रखा गया? बिकॉज द एंडोमेट्रियम स्टार्ट्स प्रोलिफरेटिंग अगेन इन दिस फेज। नेक्स्ट फेज क्या है? अच्छा, तो नेक्स्ट फेज में जाने से पहले दिस वी हैव टू नो कि फॉलिक्यूलर फेज का टाइम पीरियड क्या है, राइट? सो फॉलिक्यूलर फेज इज फ्रॉम डे 6 टू डे 13। तो मेंस्ट्रुअल फेज क्या था? डे 1 से लेके डे 5 तक अप्रोक्सीमेटली। फॉलिक्यूलर फेज इज डे 6 से लेके डे 13 तक, राइट? नाउ लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द थर्ड फेज, जो क्या है? ओव्यूलेटरी फेज। तो नाम से ही क्या पता चलता है कि ओव्यूलेटरी मतलब ओव्यूलेशन इज टेकिंग प्लेस, राइट? तो प्रीवियस वीडियोस में हम लोगों ने पढ़ा है ओव्यूलेशन क्या है। ओव्यूलेशन इज द रिलीज ऑफ द फीमेल गैमेट, द रिलीज ऑफ द ओवम फ्रॉम द ग्राफियन फॉलिकल, है ना? सो दिस इज द 14th डे ऑफ द साइकिल, राइट? तो 1 to 5 था मेंस्ट्रुअल फेज, देन 6 to 13 अप्रोक्सीमेटली था फॉलिक्यूलर। अब क्या आया? और 14th डे, अप्रोक्सीमेट 14th डे इज द डे व्हेन द ओव्यूलेशन टेक्स प्लेस, राइट? तो ड्यूरिंग दिस फेज व्हाट हैपेंस इज द LH एंड द FSH आर एट पीक लेवल्स। फॉलिक्यूलर में क्या देखा कि LH एंड FSH ग्रेजुअली दे आर स्टार्टिंग टू इंक्रीज। तो ओव्यूलेटरी में आके LH and FSH are at their peak levels, right? तो क्या होता है कि ये जो LH सर्ज होता है, सर्ज का मतलब एकदम मैक्सिमल लिमिट, हाईएस्ट पीक में जो है, बिकॉज ऑफ दिस LH सर्ज देयर इज रप्चर ऑफ द ग्राफियन फॉलिकल, right? And due to rupture of the graphian follicle, what happens is the ovum that is there, it will get released, okay? राइट? तो दिस इज व्हाट वी कॉल टू बी ओव्यूलेशन। इसे हम लोग क्या कहते हैं? इसी को कहा जाता है ओव्यूलेशन। सो अंडरस्टैंडिंग व्हाई दिस टर्म is present ovulatory phase, because ovulation occurs in this phase. So first was menstrual phase, day 1 to day 5, then follicular phase, day 6 to day 13. Now ovulatory phase, approximately on the 14th day, right? Then क्या आता है? Last phase is the luteal phase, right? So why the name luteal? Let us see. तो इसे also secretory phase भी कहा जाता है। Now what happens is, ये जो आपका ग्राफियन फॉलिकल था, ओव्यूलेटरी फेज में क्या हुआ? तो ग्राफियन फॉलिकल जो था वो हो गया रप्चर, एंड इनसाइड जो ओवम था वो हो गया रिलीज, राइट? तो ग्राफियन फॉलिकल से द ओवम हैज गॉट रिलीज्ड। नाउ remaining graphian follicle is there. So this remaining graphian follicle will now transform into the corpus luteum. This is a very important term. Please remember, the remaining graphian follicle converts into the corpus luteum. तो corpus luteum, luteum से नाम आता है luteal phase, ठीक है ना? So this corpus luteum का काम क्या है? It will function as a it will function as an endocrine structure. मतलब it will start secreting a hormone that is progesterone, right? So again involvement of another hormone that is progesterone. Progesterone का काम क्या है? ये जो आपका endometrial lining है which had started to thicken, so it will maintain that endometrial lining. Okay, and this luteal phase is from day 15 to day 28. तो पूरा साइकिल हुआ खत्म। 1 to 5 menstrual phase, 6 to 13 follicular phase, 14 ovulatory phase, and then 15 से लेके 28 तक what is there? You have the luteal phase, also known as the secretory phase. तो I guess clear है जो भी हम लोगों ने अभी तक पढ़ा। तो ये क्या है ना, दिस इज जस्ट जनरल रिप्रेजेंटेशन कि ह्यूमन फीमेल के लाइफ में ये जो 28 to 30 डेज का साइकिल है, इन दैट साइकिल फर्स्ट 5 days or 1 week इज द मेंस्ट्रुअल फेज, मेंस्ट्रुएशन अकर्स। नेक्स्ट जो 8th डे से लेके 18th to 19th डे तक है, दैट इज द fertile phase, that is the fertile period, out of which maximum fertility is on the 14th day. Why? क्योंकि ये time पे ovulation occurs, right? So there are maximal chances of the sperm to meet the ovum, right? And 20th day onwards again, that is the infertile phase. So this is a very general representation to show first menstruation phase will come, then fertility period is there, and then again it is the infertile period. That means fertilization chances are very, very low or not even there during the infertile period. Okay, तो अब क्या देखते हैं कि what are the hormones involved. तो पहले let's see the pituitary hormones. Pituitary hormones, ठीक है. तो the two pituitary hormones that we are going to see, दोनों ही कहाँ से आता है? They come from the anterior lobe of the pituitary. So what are they? One is LH, the luteinizing hormone, and the other is FSH. What does it stand for? Follicle stimulating hormone, right? And other category क्या है? कि ovarian hormones. That is, these hormones are secreted from the ovary itself. What are they? One is estrogen. Spelling can be written with the O, or another variant is just estrogen. Without OB, you can write. And the other one is progesterone. ठीक है, तो ये दो है क्या? Ovarian hormones. So in totality, these are the four major hormones: luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, estrogen, and progesterone. These four are the major hormones that are involved in the menstrual phase. So very carefully look into this graph. First क्या है? First है menstruation, that is the menstrual phase. तो day 1 से लेके day 5 तक, right? So what happens is, look into the pituitary hormone levels. Red line is showing FSH, that is declining. Blue line is showing LH, that is starting to just increase. Ovarian events में क्या है? कि the follicles have just started to develop, right? And ovarian hormones, estrogen as well as progesterone, both constant rate में है. So during this period, during this time, menses is occurring. That means the ruptured blood vessels and the endometrial lining, they are being shed. So done with menstrual phase. Now day number 6 to day number 13, इसमें क्या होता है? This is the follicular phase, also known as proliferative phase. तो इस phase में क्या देखा जाएगा? That the developing follicle is now becoming the mature follicle. तो यहाँ पे मैं क्या कह सकती हूँ कि it is now becoming the Graafian follicle, right? LH levels have started to increase. FSH levels have also started to increase, but very gradually. Ovarian hormones का क्या है? कि this developing follicle is being triggered by the LH and FSH कि चलो तुम अब estrogen secrete करो. Remember we studied that is the developing follicle secretes estrogen because it is being triggered by LH and FSH. So estrogen levels, यहाँ पे जो blue curve है, this is now starting to increase. Progesterone अभी भी constant rate में ही है. And uterus का uterine lining का क्या condition है? It is धीरे धीरे thickening. Very gradually it is thickening. So we are done with the follicular phase. Next क्या है? Next is your 14th day. In between यहाँ पे क्या आता है? 14th day. So 14th day is what? That is your ovulatory phase. Ovulatory phase. So ovulation will occur during this period. So what do we mean by ovulation? कि now Graafian follicle का rupture होगा and from there the ovum will get released, right? So at this time pituitary hormonal levels देखो, there's this LHP. LH is at the highest level during this time. FSH has also increased. And what happens? Now estrogen is धीरे धीरे starting to fall from this onwards, and progesterone is preparing to increase. Then it will be the secretory phase या तो luteal phase, that is day number 15 से लेके day number 28 तक. So in this entire period, what will happen? LH and FSH will kind of reduce, and your Graafian follicle, which has already ruptured in the ovulation phase, now develops into corpus luteum. कि remaining जो Graafian follicle है, Graafian follicle का remaining part जो है, that develops into corpus luteum, and धीरे धीरे it will regress. So now what will happen? Endometrial lining जो है, it has to maintain its thickness. See, look at it, thickness has to maintain. So for thickness maintenance, what is required? For thickness maintenance, progesterone is high during this time. Getting it? The progesterone is high. So after 28 to 30 days, 30th day, again the next month ka menstruation will start. If there is no pregnancy, if there is pregnancy, menstruation will not start. Understood? So what is important for us to remember is the nature of these graphs. कि आपको ग्राफ को देख के ही समझना है कि which hormone is it indicating? Is it FSH? Is it LH? Is it estrogen? Is it progesterone? So you have to be very, very thorough with what happens in each phase and graph का क्या situation है. Okay. So I guess we have understood it clearly. So let's see how much we have understood with a little few questions. So first question kya hai? The following graph shows the levels of ovarian hormones during a menstrual cycle. So what does 1 and 2 represent? तो क्या है ovarian hormones, right? So what do we know? The two ovarian hormones involved in menstrual cycle are estrogen and progesterone, right? तो ऑप्शन बी एंड ऑप्शन सी, ये दो ऑप्शंस को हम लोग क्या करते हैं, पहले ही एकदम बाय बाय कर देते हैं. LH and FSH का तो सीन ही है, राइट? तो हाउ टू सॉल्व दिस काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चंस? फर्स्ट तो आपको एकदम डायरेक्टली पता होना चाहिए ग्राफ के लाइक नेचर देख के. फिर भी अगर कंफ्यूजन है तो ये जगह है 14th, राइट? तो मतलब ovulation will occur at this phase. So what we know is that before ovulation occurs, before ovulation, मतलब follicular phase जो है, follicular phase में what happens is LH and FSH will trigger the developing follicle. Developing follicle को क्या बोलेगा कि please secrete estrogen, right? It will secrete the estrogen hormone. तो ये जो peak देखा जा रहा है, this peak, this one, this is estrogen, right? So we can very well clearly choose कि number 1 is estrogen and the second is progesterone. Keep the number 2 levels are high C during the luteal phase. मतलब luteal phase में progesterone high होना चाहिए. Why? Because it has to maintain the endometrial thickening. Okay, so this one is the correct option. Clear? Chalo. Second question. Read the following statements about the menstrual cycle and select two correct statements. First, lack of menstruation may be indicative of pregnancy. I think this is true. Yes, this is true. Ki if pregnancy occurs, तो menstruation will not occur, right? The changes in the ovary and the uterus are induced by changes in the levels of ovarian hormones only. अब ये only word हो गया dangerous, because not only ovarian hormones और क्या क्या है, pituitary hormones जो है, right? Pituitary hormones are also there. Remember, we have studied about LH, we have studied about FSH. They will also trigger, they will also have effect. So ये हो गया false because of that only word, है ना? Not only by ovarian hormones, pituitary hormones are also involved, right? So this one is true till now. Third, LH surge induces ovulation. Right. This is also true. कि around the 14th day, हम लोग क्या देखते हैं कि because the LH surge happens, the Graafian follicle will rupture and the ovum will be released. So that is ovulation. And fourth, if fertilization occurs, corpus luteum degenerates immediately. No, this is false. That does not happen, right? So what are the two correct statements that we have got? The two correct statements are statement 1 and 3. कौन सा option है? Yes, C. तो ये आपका C जो है, this is the correct option. I guess you all have understood this correctly. Well, so that's it about the lecture on menstrual cycle. If you like this video and you've understood the concept clearly, then please like, comment and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel BioXplaining. Stay tuned for the next lecture. Thank you. Bye-bye.